All right, welcome back to the garage. If you saw the last episode, we put the sheet metal on the front end of this car. If you were paying attention to the last episode, you noticed that we put an RS lower valence on the front of this car. See how it's got the cutout for the marker lights, turn signal lights? Yeah, so that means I'm not going to be using the old grill. It's kind of beat up and mangled, as well as the this bucket here is taking a hit of some sort. It's bent up a little bit. So I'm going to need to be replacing a bunch of this stuff anyway. So I figured I might as well go with an RS front grille and make this thing look badass. Now, I picked up a RS conversion kit from Camaro Central. It comes with the bezels, the headlight bracket, as well as the mechanism and everything for the doors. It has the upper and lower trim and the main grille section, as well as a hood latch, which moves the handle down so you can reach it. And it also includes the Detroit Speed motors and controller, as well as these brackets here. And these will need to go in since I'm converting it from a regular style grill to an RS grill. Let's look at that. So as we look at the front of the grill here, grill area, you'll see where the old headlight brackets bolted in here and along up and through here. Since this RS grill has doors on it, these need to be pushed back, and that's where this bracket here comes in handy. It'll come right in behind here. It will weld to the fender through this area right here through a series of plug welds. So first thing I got to do is cut these guys off, get the wheel out and trim those off and see how we can fit that, as well as that headlight bracket. Okay, I got those bolt tabs cut off there, except for this one down here. This one here is not actually welded to this fender lip. It's actually part of this piece here, which contains the weld nuts there. So I've got to get in here with an air saw and kind of see if I can't cut this off. It's not even attached here, so I should be able to get that out of the way without too much trouble. All right, just a little quality time with the air saw, and I was able to get right in that corner without cutting into the fender at all. And that little duder's off there, so we can start test fitting those new brackets. Now then, this bracket not only holds the headlight bracket to the radiator support, but you see these white nuts here? Those are what locate the bezel in here. You can see this guy right up there, kind of like that. See that hole and that hole? Those screw to that bracket, so I want to make sure it's in the right place, because this thing's not going to fit if it's cocked up or down, right? So it needs to be right in the sweet spot there. So I'm going to do some test fitting with the headlight bracket, this piece, and the bezel to make sure I get it in there exactly where I want it to be. Okay, first step is I'm going to need to disassemble this headlight bracket from the bell crank, this bell crank here, which is what opens and closes the headlight door. I can leave the headlight door on there. I just need to remove this crank piece because it actually extends down through the bottom of the inner fender there. So take this off. It's got to come off anyway, so let's take this apart. Okay, unbolted the headlight door from this bell crank arm. It's just got this shoulder bolt and this wave washer on it. Next there will be a bolt just under here, that guy. Pull that guy off and then she'll be free. Okay, I got that bell crank arm off there. It's just held on by that nut, a flat washer, this backstop bracket, and a wave washer there. The backstop bracket is keyed so it doesn't rotate freely on the shaft, and it should be aligned with this bell crank arm, like so. I didn't pay attention the first time, but luckily there's two of them, and you can see it on there and how it's oriented. This is going to be where the spring attaches to the backstop bracket and the headlight bracket down there. So I'm not going to do any of that right now, but I would like to take this apart so I can test fit it over there. Now that I've got this one here mounted up, just kind of loosely bolted in there along with this bracket. and it's fitting in there pretty good. There's a little bit of movement in the bracket here to get it tight up against the front of the fender piece here. I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking on it and playing with it, but I figured I'd get both of them bolted up and kind of see how they sit and go from there. It's looking pretty good in there. I like it. I also threw in the hood latch because it's got to be moved down here. It's not going to work with that grill, the old one down there. It's just too stubby. But as I was playing with this, I noticed like this hole here needs to be hogged out a little bit in the radiator support. Everything else is bolting up fairly well. I think I may need to hog a bolt hole out up underneath here, which you can't see. And as well, I was working with this, and I think this guy's bent just a little bit. It's just bowed out. So I'm going to take that off and hit it with a hammer and see if things line up a little bit better from that aspect. All right, a little quality time with the hammers, and I got this guy straightened up real good. It's looking nice. Let's slap her on there and see how she fits. I'm actually going to take this time to clean up some of the weld nuts here that I use. This thing's going together and taken apart so many times, they're going to get cross-threaded if I'm not careful. I find a good way to clean the threads is to run the bolt in from behind instead of the normal way. That kind of pushes everything out the end. I do have a tap and die set in case anything's really bad, but so far they're pretty good. Let's put her on there. Okay, I got that center support in there as well as this headlight bracket here. Went ahead and threw the lower valance on there. I've just got it bolted on the sides. The middle's not lining up exactly very well. I'm going to take this bracket out of here and give it a little more love in that area and see if I can't make this fit a little bit better. It seems like it needs some adjustment there. Okay, after a little quality time with the hammer, that bracket's looking real good in there. It's in there real nice. Got everything bolted up here. Got the bolt into the header panel, into the hood latch, but I didn't put the bolt into the radiator support. Now, that could spell trouble because this bolt, I don't know if you can see in there, it's a slider, so it slides up and down, but not to worry. A little piece of MIG wire, you can raise that up and then replace it with the bolt. Works like a charm. Let's do that. Presto changeo, got that bolt in there, got this header panel bolted up, lined up kind of as good as I can for now. I'm sure it'll need some adjustment, but we'll go ahead and take a look at this grill piece here. I went ahead and put this together over here on the bench just so I could see how it fits together and what hardware is needed. They send you some hardware. It's not all 100%, but it's a good start. They give you enough to get the grill attached to the trim pieces, and they give you the stainless steel screws and plastic nuts for the bezels, which also screw into here. And then they give you some 1/4-inch bolts and nuts. Well, the 1/4-inch nuts fit these studs, but the bolts don't fit down here. I need some 3/16 bolts, so it'd be handy if the kit had some of those in there. Anyway, let's take this all apart and start fitting the trim pieces in. Okay, here's the upper trim piece here. It goes right up there. It's got studs on the back side of it and 1/4-inch nuts down there. They go up through these holes right here. There's a square hole here for one of those plastic nuts. That's where the bezel and the end of this guy get screwed in. All the rest of these, they'll have nuts on the back side. So let's slap this up there. Okay, I got the upper and the lower trim piece in here. I figured I'd try and mask this stuff up and keep it shiny and pretty as best I can. These here, there's 7 bolts that go through it. I put the nuts on the downside here just for mock-up, make it easier to put on and take off. There's one in the middle here that's hidden behind all this that I haven't put in yet. The doors are already hitting this thing, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw the plastic grill piece in here and see if that changes anything. It's hitting on both sides, and see where it needs adjusting. Okay, I was having difficulty getting this plastic grill piece in there with the lower valance on, so I took that off. Now I can bolt it up freely. If you look down the side of it, it looks like it's tilted out this way pretty good, like it needs to be pulled back. The reason for that is the mounting surfaces on the inner grill are sloped. The bottom ones are sloped down, the upper ones are sloped up, and the metal that it attaches to is perfectly flat. So I think these pieces need to bend a little bit in order to get that to tilt back and be nice and even and straight. I'll work with it a little bit and throw that lower valance on there. Okay, I got that upper trim piece bent in just a little bit, just by pressing up on it here. See if I can zoom out and show you something. Just by pressing up with my thumb right there and bending that a little bit. I also used pliers, just a wee dab, very gently, on the bolts themselves. Just grab that guy and give it a little pry up. Seems to have lined it up a little bit better. Let's see if we can throw this lower valence on there. Okay, lower valence is on there, grill is all on there, doors are on there. Here's a quick pro tip for you. I had this bolt here that was hard to line up. What I did is I took a punch and I got it through the bolt hole, got it nice and lined up, then I clamped it with the vice grips, pulled the punch out, and then I'm able to thread a bolt in it real easy. Just a little pro tip for you. Anyway, this is looking pretty good. It's lined up nicely. Over here, you know, I was worried about the those plastic nuts that are in there. These are working real well. They're lined up nice with the trim. The trim all lines up across there. I like that pretty well. This side over here though, I got this one in, but this one won't go in. I think this piece needs to be rotated down and around just a little bit. I'll take this apart and see if I can't fix that. Okay, I got that bezel out of here and folded the door back. I've got it wired up so it's not swinging around, banging into stuff. This bracket here needs to move down, rotate down. And if you can see this whole headlight bracket, it's actually set up so that it can rotate a little bit. The top hole back here is actually slotted. So that gives us a little bit of adjustment there. The top hole, okay. Let's adjust around here a little bit. See, throw that bezel back in there, see what we got. Pro tip for you. If you put a little magnet on your screwdriver, then you can easily pick up your hardware and not lose it. Okay, I got this bezel kind of put in here. The top hole lines up pretty good. The bottom hole here, it still needs to come around this way. Need to find a way to hold that bracket onto this fender. Let's see what we can come up with. Okay, I've got some clamps holding this thing into place here. It needed to be manipulated a little bit to fit this contour. Luckily, this bracket is 18 gauge steel, so it's easy to bend with your hands. I took the headlight bracket out because it won't fit in here with the clamps very well. I went ahead and drilled some holes here, here, and here that I could feed coat hanger through. Fits in there nice and tight. I can bend this over and cut off the excess so the bezel will fit in there. And let's see what that does, if that helps at all. Okay, got my redneck flush mount Clecos in place, and I got magnets holding this thing in there. It's nice and solid, it's not going to move around. I can test fit this bezel and even test fit that headlight bracket, see if it all fits in here and is happy together. Let's try it. Okay, I got the headlight bracket in here and you can see these bolt holes aren't lining up. You can rotate this thing a little bit, but it just makes it worse. That's okay. I can hog these holes out and make them line up. Not a big deal. I can modify this bracket a little bit. You see some cars with RS grills and the doors are tilted down and they don't line up with the trim around the sides. And I kind of hate that. So a little adjustment's going to be just fine there. Let's throw the bezel on there and see how it's looking. Okay, I got the bezel in here. It's looking real good. I like that. I've just got the screws kind of started just so you can see the angle of the dangle as they're poking through there. Like this guy's not exactly perfect, but it's close enough, I think. Same with these up here and down here. I tightened up the bolts on the back side of this headlight bracket. You can see how it swings into place. It's looking pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to have to hog out those holes or adjust that bracket just a little bit to get it to fit real nice, but I like it. Okay, we'll start working on the driver's side here. It was pretty good just straight out of the box here. I haven't done anything with it. So let's pull this bezel off and see if that's true or if it's just not, if the bracket's not in there right. Yeah, with that bezel out of there, this one's looking real good. It's nice and tight to the front. It's also, there's not a lot of gaps here. There's a little gap at this very end and this very end, but for the rest of it, it's nice and solid. I think the door even swings pretty nicely in here, so like this one doesn't need much of any adjustment at all. So I can mark it so it stays in the right place, clamp it, drill it, put those little hanger pieces in there, these little guys, put those in there to pin it, and then yeah, I should be welding this up in no time. Okay, I got it clamped up, drilled and pinned. I can pull the clamps off there and see how that bezel fits. Okay, I'm getting this headlight bracket bolted back up in here for one final fitment. Just want to make sure everything is happy and works well together. I got this bolt in, but I can't get that bolt in. And I notice it's hitting the radiator support right up here. So I'm going to eventually, whenever I have this all apart, notch that radiator support corner. The other side is about a 1/4 inch away from it, but if it moves back, it'll hit it. So I'll just notch the corners on that thing. I looked at my old radiator support and it was notched on the corners there, so I don't see any problem with it. Anyway, it's coming together. Okay, I got it all put back together here. It's looking real good. I like the way it's fitting in there. It's all good in relation to these inner fender brackets. I can go ahead and pull this apart and start prepping it to be welded. Okay, I got the grill out of there and everything's kind of out of the way. These things are still in there quite solid. That surprises me for using just that little coat hanger pin trick. Now it's time to pull them out, and I can just get in behind here and push on them. This one up here is going to need a screwdriver, but you just get a screwdriver in there and ta-da, pull that out with the pliers. Then we can prep these two pieces of metal for welding. Okay, I got this area all cleaned up. I drilled it out for plug welds here, here, and up here. And I've got the E-coat scraped off this, and the paint scraped off that. I even went in behind this little flange with a wire wheel and cleaned up all in behind there. Got that nice and clean. Now I can clean these parts up and hit them with some weld-through primer. Same thing on this side. And yeah, just pin it into place. You can put it in there and take it out. It always goes back in the same place. Anyway, we'll get the stuff cleaned up, painted up a little bit, and then we'll be ready to weld. Okay, I got these pieces all painted up with the weld-through primer, and I got this guy clamped and pinned into place. Let's bust out the welder and zip-zap that together. Okay, I got that guy all welded in there. I did the plug welds, and then I did a few little lap welds here and there, just to make sure it's nice and solid in there. Got it ground down and cleaned up. It's looking good. Okay, passenger side is all welded in. It's looking good. It's nice and solid. Next, I want to drill the holes. We need holes here for the bell crank to go down through. The instructions here from Detroit Speed. They show you what needs to be done. They give you a nice little template here. I can cut this out, put it on there and start drilling holes. Then we can test fit those guys again. Okay, template's cut out here. We need to drill 3 holes, 2 3/8" holes right there for these bolts here that hold this bracket in there, and then an 1.5" hole there, which will allow that bell crank arm to fit through there. This template, they tell you, it goes on the underside, right underneath there. So you can mark the holes that need to be drilled. I'll just show you on top. With this guy, where those are going to go, they give you a lineup hole here, which should line up with that hole there. And you can see that this big 1.5" hole here is going to sit right in this contour right in here. And that's where the metal is actually double layered, if you look in there. So I'll be drilling through that. So anyway, could be a bit of a challenge for that, but we'll just get to it and do it. Okay, I got that little template held up there with magnets. You can use auto punch, mark where the holes are, and now I can use this guy and drill them out. Okay, holes are all drilled. I want to do this one side at a time. That way, if I need to adjust that template for that side at all, I'll know about it after doing this side. So I've got to pull the bracket off the bell crank here. This guy, it's just a nut to flat washer and a bushing, and then another bushing, and then a wave washer. Okay, going through the instructions here, after the holes are drilled, you can go ahead and take this bracket and mount it on there, and then insert the bell crank through the hole that you've created. And then it's got super detailed instructions on the hardware underneath that. However, it mentions starting with a flat washer and then doing the bushing, the bracket, then another bushing, then a wave washer, then a washer, then a nut. That first washer is not included in the kit, as well as it won't really fit. If you use a washer and then all of this stuff, it's not really gonna work very well. I went ahead and put this on here and got the bolts on the bottom side to this bracket here, but unless I have tiny little doll hands,
I'm only allowed upstairs.
I can't reach to put the hardware on the top side of this thing. So I've got to rethink their instructions. Okay, after a quick deliberation, I went ahead and bolted everything to that upper stud on the bell crank arm and put this all back in here, and you can see it's working nicely now. I also installed the bumper here. There's a bumper here so this doesn't hit the radiator core support whenever it comes back. Now I know these holes here don't line up. I knew that early on. I'm gonna have to drill those out a bit more to get it to fit in here, but for right now it's pretty good. I should go ahead and drill the other side and get it mounted up. Let's get going with that. Okay, I got all the holes drilled in this inner fender. Let's grab this guy and throw it on there. Real quick, I wanted to show you guys how I'm doing the spring. Take a piece of wire and hook it into that spring, and then I use that as a handle to pull that spring and get it into that hole there. But yeah, I got to take this bracket off and slip it in there. Okay, real quick, I figured I'd show you guys how I'm putting this in here. I've got that lower bracket here, goes underneath here, and then I've got the headlight door bracket with the bell crank arm bolted to it there, spring attached. It's ready to go. So I just got to feed this through the big hole. Kind of like just like that. So I can fit a bolt in it on the other side. Top bolt started. Low bolt. Yeah. Get those fired up in there. Okay, got 2 bolts in that side. We'll go ahead and throw 1 bolt in the front of it here. Right, these holes actually almost line up. The bottom one does anyway. Okay, now that I've got those 3 bolts kind of loosely started, I can go ahead and throw this guy on here. Start with the bushing on the top of it, because that's got to go up through that guy. Now, this doesn't line up real well. I think I may need to adjust these holes here to get this bracket to sit on the shaft properly. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I've got the 2 bolts through the radiator support there, and then I've got 1 bolt in the front here. You can see that top bolt hole doesn't line up very well. It'll need to be adjusted, but the door swings out and in. Looks pretty good. Bell crank functions properly. It slides smoothly. However, whenever we go to put this bracket on, if I line it up with the holes that I drilled up here, it doesn't fit very well. I'll throw some bolts in it and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, with that bracket bolted into place, whenever I look at the end of that bell crank shaft, it doesn't stick all the way through there. And it seems like this bracket needs to come forward just a bit, and that end needs to go that way. Unfortunately, it's all the way forward here. So I'm gonna play with this thing and see where it fits better. As well, there's a pretty big gap, like even if you get the thing to slide into place, kind of like that, to where that shaft is sticking through there almost far enough. It's a little, it needs to be taller, like this needs to be up that way a little bit. So I'm gonna play with this a little bit, bring you back. Okay, I've got that bracket clamped into place here where it seems to be the happiest. If you look up through here, you can see there's the hole that I drilled for this bracket. That's how far over it's moved. That's the original hole in the inner fender, and there's the bolt hole that will need to be. So I should be able to mark this, drill it out, and have this bracket a lot happier in here. It's pretty good. It's pretty tight up to the bottom of that bell crank shaft. I've just got the bushings taped on here so that they don't fall on the floor and roll underneath stuff. But yeah, I like that. I think that's going to work just fine. Just need to move those holes over. It makes me want to revisit this guy over here, because whenever you swing, whenever the door is opened, the bell crank arm actually hits the bracket. I wonder if this one should be clocked around a little bit as well. I might take it off there and take another peek at it. But for now, drill holes and redo this guy. Now then, I just want a better understanding of why this isn't lining up properly. If I take this bracket and I put it on the template like this, and I take my marker and I slide it down through the hole, you can see where that's hitting on that guy. And if we take a look up in here, you can see that shaft is actually kind of at the back side of this big hole. So yeah, I think the template's no good. Now, when I was test fitting this, I didn't have the bell crank arm on there. And what I thought about doing was taking a marker and sliding it down through the hole and marking this lower fender where that big hole should be. And that's what I should have done. If I were to do this over again, that's what I would do. I would use this as the template for the big hole. And then once I get the bell crank arm in here, then I can use this to figure out where these two holes need to go. And I think that it would be right the first time without having to monkey around with all this. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Okay, got the new holes drilled. Let's see how it fits. Okay, I've got this in here. It's looking real good. Moves nice and free, doesn't bind up down here. There is a big gap between that bell crank arm and this bracket here. And the reason for that is because I had to drill through the 2 layers right here where this inner fender is 2 pieces. And what that's doing is that's causing this bracket to kind of angle down a little bit. If I loosen these off and I shim the back side of this, it'll bring it up and make it nice and tight. I'll show you that. Yeah, I just put a washer in the back side of this just to demonstrate. Now it's much tighter. It's easy to turn, but it's a lot closer tolerance there between the bracket and the bell crank arm. So I may do something to add a kind of a permanent profile to the back side of this guy just to keep it in that position. I'll think about it. Okay, I actually just clamped this bracket in a vise and just bent it with my hand a little bit. And yeah, she's fitting up there nice now. I like it. Let's go take a peek at this side and see if it needs the same treatment. Okay, I moved this bracket over to there. I like it better, and it matches that side. So I'm gonna do some drilling and make it sit there. Okay, I got that bracket repositioned. I like it there. It's sitting real nice. I've got to come back and weld up these holes. This one here was a little too close and ended up kind of breaking through. But that's fine. I'll take care of that. I also need to holler out these holes, hog them out on both brackets to make those fit up, and then keep rocking and rolling. Okay, a little quality time with the die grinder, and I got these holes opened up enough that I can get a bolt in them now. Let's bolt this guy up. We'll do the same thing over there and keep going. Okay, I'm about to get this job buttoned up. It's looking good. They're in here. The brackets are in. This probably gives you a little better light, a little more natural light. They're all bolted up. They swing. They do all the things. I'm not going to bother putting the entire grill assembly back on here because I know it fits, but I do want to put the bezels on there. Let's do that real quick and see what it looks like. Okay, here it is with the bezels on. It's looking real good. I'm real happy with it. It does rub a little bit whenever I swing these, just along the bottom there. There's a little scrape, but that can be adjusted in final fitment, I think. Now I can take this all back apart, put it in the box, clean up all of this mess, which I've cleaned up most of it already. I've still got a bunch of stuff to put away, and put this back on the box and wait until I'm actually ready for it. Okay, I'm not going to make you watch me take this all apart and put it in the boxes and put it on the shelf. You saw me put it together. You know how it goes. You know how it works. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, and thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.